Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the High School Meta Open New Zealand games here. I'm joined by Adjacent World, I am Perplexer, and I am excited to get into this game.
I am also very much excited to get into this game, especially with the new patch 9.10 coming out. We're going to have two bands coming through already. Jax on the blue side, Aurelia on the red side. Aurelia, as you mentioned before earlier, before the stream started, to be expected against Sad BMO. Kane going to be followed up on the blue side.
Yeah, and taking away a lot of focus champions that people like to play is the name of the game in this sort of tournament. You want to take away comfort picks that are also strong meta champions, like the Irelia, like the Zillion, as we see that get banned away here, just to force people onto more uncomfortable champions to hopefully make them play worse and in turn not let them, do what they want to do in this game.
Yes, and as I said, we are now on 9.10, so a couple of small but interesting changes coming through, mainly the Conqueror nerf, the Vayne nerf, the Rageblade nerf, and the changes to Yi are the most notable of things, so I'm curious to see if we'll get to see any of those. We're going to have Yasuo as the final ban for the first phase on the blue side, and Corki as the final ban for the first phase on the red side.
Yeah, and locking in the Kled here shows that, there's a lot of priority being put on having that nice, easy engage, but also securing that champion for their top laner, as he does have a preference towards playing that, given his pretty solid KDA performance throughout solo queue. Although I'm not really sure if Kled's the most meta champion at the moment, but he definitely provides a lot for the team in that terms of, a solid engage and a strong solo laner.
Yeah, we're going to have Sejuani picked up by a Crendio there on the red side, and Pokebear picking up the Annie for the mid lane, I believe. Or is that the top lane?
It should be the mid lane. I'd be very surprised if we saw a top lane Annie, but things can change. Sejuani would like to probably get more of a melee mid lane to work around with, because that, for her passive to be able to have that lockdown reliably. But Annie having that Tipper's stun, having that reliable short range ish, but solid damage can still set up for these ganks for Sejuani, and so that combo can still work as a 2v2 in the mid lane.
Yeah, and we're going to have Nunu and Willem picked up as the jungle for the blue side, and Thresh being picked up in addition to that. Oh, it's going to be swapped over to a Morgana last minute. Black Shield. Very nice in the instance of Sejuani and Annie on the red side.
I also think that Morgana is a really nice pickup here with the Nunu, because one of the easy ways that you can handle a Nunu when he starts ulting is you just sort of like knock him with a CC, stop him from, as with the Sejuani, jump into him, disrupts his ultimate, doesn't get the full charge off, but now, chuck a Black Shield on him, he's full charging that ultimate as long as he wants.
Then have Kai'Sa picked up for the first pick phase on the red side. We did see that Azuzu was hovering Kai'Sa, so they're going to likely to look to take that away. Vayne getting banned away first in the second phase on the red side.
Yeah, and I feel like they're putting a lot of priority onto securing themselves a nice ADC here with the Kai'Sa after the changes is probably the better of the two out of Kai'Sa and Vayne. Probably still a really solid champion. Vayne not necessarily so strong after the Rageblade changes and her Tumble nerf at level 6, in terms of not being able to have that on that cooldown as effectively. But, still a really good ADC, probably worth just banning it away and taking your Kai'Sa while you have that chance, because they did end up letting them take that and prioritized getting the Nunu and the Morgana in the first rotation. So we'll have to see what ADC Ape decides to opt in for here, given how Vayne has been taken away off the table. I expect a Lucian to maybe be the pickup here.
Yeah, and with the expectation of that Lucian, we do have Braum banned away on the blue side in a likely anticipation for that, as Braum Lucian is a very dynamic duo there. Actually, Kai'Sa is the ADC pick on the red side, I just noticed. Karma getting picked up as the support. Renekton banned away from the blue side as a nice touch on keeping the Kled a bit of a safe laning phase, as he's opting to take Ignite over Teleport. Going to have the fourth pick for the blue side on the follower coming out just about now. It's going to be Kassadin
Yeah, and you mentioned that the Karma is the support pick here, but yeah, you have to think that that could be a top lane Karma. There is always that small level of flexibility with her, but I do expect her to end up being put into that support role, as she does fed pretty decently into the Morgana matchup, and works quite nicely with Kai'Sa to some.
Yeah, Kaiser definitely does work well with that. We are going to have Callista picked up on the blue side. That's going to be the ADC pick there. Going to work rather nicely with Morgana, able to throw the Black Priestess in and channel that ultimate off with the Zhonya's very nicely. We're going to have the top lane pick finally coming out now on the red side. He's hovering Pantheon. He did hover Nasus just before, so we're going to see what the commit is to, and it's going to be Akali.
And Akali getting through this late in the pick and ban phase is really rare to see, but really solid champion, being able to provide, so much, so easy to just, be able to actually be effective on her as a solo laner, as a split 1v1 champion in a side lane. You run the 1-3-1 comp, you put your Annie in the mid lane with your Kai'Sa and your actually it'd probably be more of a 1-2-2 comp with Akali and Sejuani maybe hovering in the side lane, and then you run your duo lane in the middle, and then you maybe have an Annie on the side, and you want to just pressure, you want to farm up, you want to hit those spikes, and you want to collapse on fights. Looking across the board here, you have a Morgana, you have a Kled, and I think. Yeah, you have a Kled, you have a Morgana, you have a Callista. It's all really solid engage options. You have a Nunu, a forward front to back, strong team fight lineup, and as long as you're able to find the right fights, you should see them, try to force objective fights, try to take vision control around Baron quite early, because you have that really strong, easy to execute engage. Which is something that, while they do have the flash Tibbers stun, and they do have the Sejuani ult, is something that they are lacking on the red side here.
And one important thing to note is the red side is rather AP heavy, with the exception of Kai'Sa and Akali, although they do have innate magic damage, which more or less is part of their core kit. So Kassadin on that blue side with the passive magic resist is going to have a very is going to have a bit of an easier time than most Kassadins would expect.
As well as the Morgana with the Black Shield actually does end up blocking magic damage as an AP shield. So that could end up being vital in blocking serious burst damage that's going to be coming out of the likes of Akali and Annie. And as we get late into the game, Kai'Sa, obviously, with her passive.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw some form of MR shielding taken by either Callista or Kled or both in the form of more of Malmortius, or if Callista is opting for a bit more of a crit oriented build, perhaps a Phantom Dancer with that latest change.
We definitely could see Nunu investing in something like a Spirit Visage as well, just to have that really bulky survivability, as he's going to end up being the main frontline for his team in these fights and gonna have to be able to survive.
Yes, I'm very much so curious to see what the Morgana will likely opt into. Obviously, Zonya's Hourglass is the stone template for Morgana, but it could be viable to opt in for a early Banshee's Veil in this style of composition.
Well, you say that the opting for an early Banshee's Veil could be an option. I think that maybe as like a third item, it could be something that she decides to opt for. But I feel like the value that you get out of opting for a Banshee's Veil as a support Morgana isn't really ideal. It's not exactly the most cheap item, especially after getting a Zonya's. And on that support salary, you're probably going to want to opt for things that are a little more efficient. Of course, we have seen them go for it before. It's not super unusual for a support to maybe get ahead a little bit, opt for these more expensive items. And so when you're facing down the likes of an Annie and a Kali, in these sort of bursty team fights that they're going to end up trying to engage onto you with, Morgana opting for Banshee's Veil could be an option. I'd like to see, though, and this is going to sound like a little bit of a curveball, but I would like to see a Wit's End somewhere in this game. I'm going to be honest. I think
Uh,
that
yeah.
it could work here.
potential wits end on the Callista, or hell, maybe even the Cassidon. I don't know what to expect, honestly. I've seen a good amount of randomness from a couple of these high school games so far. So just about anything's possible, really.
Anything's possible indeed, and I think that a Wit's End, after the changes especially, is a lot better of an item. Uh, and we've seen it in MSI, we've seen it at a couple of other pro tournaments, being picked up for this sort of this answer to all of the AP damage as well as an attack speed item, and I think that it could probably maybe even work on Callista.
Yeah, no, it absolutely could work on Callista, although they will have to make do with the reduced healing from the Wit's End, but the bonus magic damage and the attack speed, as well as just the general magic resist, is nothing to scoff at, of course.
Yeah, looking at the lineup though, Predator Annie is, I think, a really underrated rune that's used on her. I think that it allows her to be a lot more of a reliable engage tool for your team, and when your only other engage option is a Sejuani, I think that's probably the right option to go for here.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Predator Annie is super underrated and makes me super uncomfortable in more ways than one. We're also going to have Aftershock picked up by Sejuani, a very nice pick. Aftershock recently getting a nice buff with the percentage health damage bonus as well as the percentage armor and magic resist gain based on who is casting it. We're also going to have Guardian picked up by Morgana.
Yeah, I was about to mention the Guardian on the Morgana isn't something you normally see. You normally see them for something more like an Airy or even an Electrocute could be something that you end up seeing here. But going for that Morgana Guardian, probably wanting to deal with some of the harass that's going to be coming out from this Karma support, just to be able to survive this laning phase and not get poked out so hard.
Yeah, we are going to have Conqueror as well, picked up on the Akali with that 2% nerf on the damage, true damage and healing. So that probably won't be as beneficial for someone such as the Akali, who will, I was going to say, have a bit of a hard time into the Kled matchup.
Yeah, I don't think that's really the most ideal matchup for Akali. They did end up picking it last, so they knew what they were getting into. But in terms of how that matchup's going to play out with the jungle pressure, with someone like a Sejuani who can synergize quite well with an Akali, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
All right, and we are going to have a bit of a last-minute adjustment before we get into game, and we should be getting into game relatively soon as you bear with us. And we are now into game. It is underway. We have people moving out of the fountain. Gonna have some early warning pings coming out as red side more than likely could look for an engage. They do have that potential early crowd control, but as do the blue side with that dark binding from Morgana.
And you have to think here, what do they want to get out of maybe doing an early invade? You know, what would they gain from forcing something like a vertical jungling path? And I'm looking at the team comps here, and I don't think really either team wants to try and force something like that, because both teams are relatively happy farming up in the early game, you know, not really trying to opt for either side's support. Both teams, you know, pretty standard lineups here, maybe a couple curveballs in the teams of maybe the Kled and the Annie, but everything, maybe the Karma as well, but everything else is pretty standard. I think things are going to play pretty standard in the early game. Mostly going to see, I expect full clears from both of these junglers. Maybe an early gank in the top lane from Sejuani, but nonetheless, just fueling each other out in this early game.
Oh yeah, and the most curious thing that I'm seeing is the Kled opting for the Doran's shield over Doran's blade, when Kled could definitely be the aggressor in this early top lane matchup. So taking the passive route could give the Akali a bit more leeway than they deserve in this matchup.
Giving that active role over to the Akali by taking the Doran shield is something that could be seen as a mistake here, but when you end up looking at factoring in the idea that they're going to be pressured by the Sejuani early game, or expect to be, then opting for something that allows you to sustain maybe a little bit more in these trades could end up being more beneficial, because it allows you to stay in lane longer, lets them push the wave into you, and then lets you be safer under your turret.
Yeah, we did have a bit of a nice trade there in the bot side. Herm able to get in very close and land a nice little duck binding there on top of Poke Bear. Not going to see much else coming from there, though, as we are likely going to see rather passive lanes coming out so far, other than the top side, which
Even then, I feel like top side is gonna end up just being quite slow until we're really trading the bot lane. It's quite slow until their junglers get involved, because both Akali and Kled don't really have the tools to force extended trades, and so if one of them gets slightly lower, they're just gonna back off, sustain up, repeat the process. Whereas I do want to talk about how the Morgana opted for taking Dark Binding first, which is a little bit more unusual than most. It's not a crazy curveball, but definitely normally see them end up taking the Dark Pool in the early game.
Yeah, and we are going to have a gank coming in here in the mid lane. Stolen Soul coming in. There's like a Ignite popped up on the follower. He's going to go down to first blood. And meanwhile, Akrendo is coming in. Stolen Soul is all on his own. Probably going to have to flash over the wall. No, he's going to flash into the bush instead. Akrendo is following up. The stun is connected. Aftershock is proc, and that's going to be a bit of damage coming out from that. Stolen Soul might be able to secure the kill. No. He's going to be able to get hit as he's taking the blast cone over, and that's going to be a free blue buff as well as the kill for Akrendo right there.
Yeah, and follower thought they had the numbers advantage. They thought they could get the kill on Sad BMO. All he had to do, he flashed the snowball, I believe it was, ended up repositioning, got the damage down, and follower just melted. He didn't use his flash, he didn't think he needed to, and that's what happens when you underestimate an ally in the early game, especially as a Kassadin.
Yeah, and I believe the key thing to that downfall, meanwhile, Stolen Soul making his way back into his blue side, Akrendrio is still there, rather low as well. Probably going to be able to get out just nice and safe. But an important thing to note is Stolen Soul actually did opt to go back in towards the scuttle. Meanwhile, a bit of a scuffle happening in the top lane.
A little bit of a scuffle, but you can see Kled quite safely being able to just walk away from that trade, which is just going to happen over and over again, and also why he probably ended up opting for the Doran shield. I do want to quickly go back, though, to that play where you saw Kayn 1v9 in the top lane roaming down to that play, and in case that had gone south, they had the pressure in the top lane to be able to do that, which means that if they had tried to extend that play after getting the kill onto Sad BMO, Kayn would have been there. And that's really important, because even if they had won the first trade, they couldn't have extended it into anything else.
Oh, of course, absolutely. And now at 5 minutes, we are going to have the dragon spawning in. It's going to be a Mountain Drake. Nice early pickup for either team, for those that want to try and secure those early plates. So, yeah, especially with a movement. Nunu.
Talking about early plates, if you're the side of the Kai'Sa, if you're side of the Kai'Sa and the Sejuani, you have really solid early game pressure. You're able to shove in, in these lanes, wave clear, rotate up, and
we're going to have Stolen Soul getting caught out by Sad BMO, not opting to use the stun just yet, and going to pretty much let Stolen Soul just get away for free. Only level 3. That was a pretty easy kill for a level 5 Annie right there.
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I guess they didn't quite have vision on the bot lane there. Maybe they would have been roaming up, and you don't really want to commit to that fight, but a little bit of maybe a misplay or a misjudgment there by Sad BMO. But back to the dragon, as I was talking about just before. What? Sad BMO.
Yeah, just a casual Annie ult coming in.
I mean, if you have it, you may as well just use it, right? I mean, as long as you use it, it's going back on cooldown, which means you're getting more efficiency out of it, right, Jason?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So back onto the dragon, you were saying.
I swear, it's bad. Sad BMO is not gonna leak, but as I was saying, they want to get the Mountain Dragon because they're able to get that early game gold by shoving in against someone like a what? Someone's still getting a little low in the jungle there, but someone like a Kassadin can't have that early wave clear. He can't defend against this early game pressure. As you're seeing right now, you're having waves crash into his turret over and over again. Same in the top lane here, which would mean they would be able to more reliably get these plates, which just ends up getting them more net gold and lets them scale more into this mid game.
Yeah, absolutely. Mac Muddy really starting to feel the pain from giving the Akali that early advantage by not taking the more aggressive start. Akali now level 6 and definitely a force to be reckoned with.
You don't really like this door and shield start, do you?
I do not.
I mean, I think it has its merits. Oh, Binding landing
Yeah,
the
we're
bot
gonna
lane.
have a Dark Binding coming through. That's gonna be a lot of poke potentially coming out. The Spear Rip does come through. Not as much damage as you'd hope for. Meanwhile, Sejuani coming in with the ultimate, not going to be missed because Azuz is able to flash out. Herm able to barely make their escape. Going to get caught out by the Karma route, and that's going to be Acredino finishing off the kill. Meanwhile, a lot of spears in that boar. Not going to be able to take it down.
Well, and that was just so unfortunate. They're missing the Dark Binding onto Ascendrio, on that Sejuani gank there. Almost got out. I think that if he had landed that binding, he would have been able to disengage, but
Yeah, we are
Vision there spotting out the play.
Yeah, Akali's coming down to MacMuddy with the long-range E, and that's going to be MacMuddy getting demounted, and he's going to likely be taken down by Kane 1v9, and the rest of the red team is here to follow up. Azuz forced to take refuge under the tower sanctuary. He pleads. Meanwhile, Dark Binding does come in. The fight is still going. Annie has blocked Predator and is hiding in the bush. Meanwhile, Follower gets caught out. Oh, sorry, that's not Follower, that's Herm.
They're collapsing so beautifully on these plays. Akali following the teleport with her E there. Just so fun to see that little interaction. But it ended up letting her save her TP, get to the fight, and ended up converting it into, what was that, 4 kills in that fight?
Yeah,
3
that
kills?
was, yeah, that was, I believe that was 3 kills, yes, because the
3 kills.
team was up 2 kills earlier.
Yeah,
And
it was
at
the double kill and then the
minutes-
kill onto Mac Muddy.
Yes. And
Yes.
about 9 minutes now, the red team will have secured the Mountain Drake. All the while, Stolen Soul up in the top lane, not really getting much for his team.
Yeah, I think he was looking to maybe try and do an invade there while they were on the bot side, but maybe a little bit slow to the play, a little bit slow to the rotate, and not really able to capitalize on that team fight that happened in the bot side there. But would have been definitely nice to see him try and take away the red buff, or maybe a Raptors camp at least.
And we are going to have Teleport coming out from Kane 1v9, getting back into lane. Definitely in a leading position above MacMuddy here, who has opted for the Negatron Cloak. Oh, this is... You hate to see it. You hate to see such a early game prowessing champion such as Kled have to play so passively.
Yeah, and it would have been nice to see him maybe opt for for the early game offensive items. He already opted for the Dorian Shield, not really needing to invest in a Negatron Cloak just yet, but, you know, always, you know, sad to see, but if you're facing an Akali who's almost finished her Hextech Gunblade, I would not blame the guy, especially after he's about 40 CS down, which is significant CS differential.
Oh yes, and you might just get your wish because by the looks of it, I believe MacMuddy is going to try and go for first item Wit's End, as it might be the best choice of action for him right here. Meanwhile, Eing into the Kane 1v9, not the best choice of action. Blue team trying to clear out vision around this bottom side so they can try and get some platings from those towers. Only one plating being taken away so far.
Yeah, and they've definitely set up here so much oppressive vision, trying to choke out vision from the Dragon Pit for when they took the Dragon earlier, but now Blue Team trying to clear it back out, trying to regain some control in this spot side river so they can reliably shove up to that turret. You can see here though, Arsendrio trying to look for maybe a turret dive after he takes this grump here, as they are continuously shoving in topside.
Now, I think a tower dive might be a bit ambitious. It is still a Kled with that double health bar mechanic.
We're gonna see.
They're gonna go for it anyway because he is super low and it's gonna be able to go through anyway. Aftershock being able to give the tankiness to Acrendio as he needs, but MacMuddy is running wild. He's gonna go down eventually to,
Yeah,
I believe that was a W coming out from Acrendio.
That was a smite. That was a smite kill.
That was a smite.
I do not know a way to disrespect your opponent more than killing them with smite. But definitely solid dive there. The tanking of the turret was down to the last little bit of HP just with the aftershock letting him in the mid lane.
Flash engage from Sad BMO, Ignite popped. Not going to be able to secure the kill on that, as Follower is able to flash Rift walk away.
Yeah, it looks like Sabimo just missing out on these number values for these fights. Not really able to quite close out the kills, but definitely good to see the aggression coming out while you still have some form of lead in this lane.
And we are going to have the ultimate engage coming out from Azuz. Herm is following up, misses the Dark Binding. Pokebear trying to ult to escape. That's a lot of spears in them. That's going to take him down. But Red Team is moving to close in around here, 2v3. I don't think they're going to be able to finish this off. Dark Binding does land. They're probably not going to be able to lock down a Crendio because the Karma there is to give that movement speed support. Stolen Soul actually getting engaged on by a Crendio. Not sure what's happening there, just a bit of a poke fest.
It really sold engaged there onto Pokebear though, just earlier in the fight. They knew he was by himself. He didn't have any escape. Ended up opting to save the flash there, which probably was the smart move. You're not really going to get out of that one alive, especially when you have a giant snowball coming down from Stolen Soul. But really clean execution there on the side of Blue Team. Really nice to see.
Yeah, we are at about 13 minutes now. We've got 50 seconds until turret plating disappears. Rift Herald not seeing its full usage, unfortunately. And rather limited plating actually getting taken around the board. We have 3 for the red side and 0 for the blue side.
Yeah, and if you think about the team comps, it starts making sense why plating hasn't been taken, because none of these teams really have wave clear. You have an Akali who's winning the matchup, but she can't reliably or safely hit the turret under that turret without maybe a dive, as we saw earlier, letting her get that plating. You don't have much wave clear with Annie in the mid lane. While she can reliably take minion waves, she can't really hard shove. And then in the bot side, I think Kai'Sa and Kamo is pretty self-explanatory. Opting over on the other side here, though, Kassadin's not going to do anything for the next 20 minutes. McDuddy is opting for a very defensive build here, and not really winning this lane, so not going to be able to shove that in. You know, Azuzu and Herm have been able to shove it.
Oh. Stun landing, Ignite popped on Sad BMO, but Follower's not going to be able to follow up with damage. Rest of the blue team able to secure the Blue Drake at about 14 minutes, 20 seconds. Meanwhile, Akrendio secures the Rift Herald, likely going to come use it topside.
And you just see time and time again, Sad BMO just takes these fights, and he just can't close them out, but... Oh,
there it is. Again, maybe. Away. He's not going to be able to stand under the tower. Kane taking way too many tower shots.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit unfortunate there to take those turrets, but you wanted to try and look for the dive. And if you were able to just force him off this turret, that HP is probably worth it.
Yeah, we are going to have Follower grouping up with McMuddy here to try and stop the push from the Herald. And it looks like they're going to be able to more or less lower the damage onto the next tower at the very least. Yeah, very little damage coming through. That's going to be an interrupt onto Stolen Soul. The snowball getting, well, evaporated.
Yeah, and you say that a little bit of damage, but they kept the Rift Herald alive to get that last charge off, which is going to be crucial for when they look to maybe continuously dive McMuddy, because they don't have any.
Stolen Soul getting caught out. He's going to get stunned up very nicely. He's going to be able to flash out just in time. But meanwhile, Akali Flash Ultimate securing the kill, especially popping with the Ignite from Sad BMO. And that's going to be a very nice kill for the red side there. They're trying to get some kind of compensation, but I doubt they're going to find any.
Yeah, not being able to get that return kill is unfortunate, but when you're this far behind in the early game, when you're running a late game scaling comp, you just gotta let these sort of things happen. You know, you gotta just farm up, you gotta wait for them to fail these sort of dives, you gotta play defensively, and then once you start hitting those power spikes of those items, you're gonna be able to turn this game all around.
Oh, absolutely. Blue team's end game is pretty much Peel for Azuz. He is their last hope, more or less, until Kassadin on the follower on the Kassadin is able to become more relevant.
Yeah, and you just want to shove your Kassadin in a side lane, let him farm up, you know, let Azuz wave clear in this bot lane, maybe shove your McMuddy into the mid lane to try and, you know, play safely against this Annie. Probably be a better matchup for him, but it seems here we're just going to have standard lanes continue for a little bit here. Not really wanting to opt for any craziness.
Yeah, and I suppose in a way a bit of a hidden blessing for the blue side here is that Sejuani has pretty much majority of the kill participation and kill gold on top of themselves, instead of it being, say, on the Annie or Akali.
Yeah, and while that's definitely a silver lining in some extent. Having a really tanky, rich Sejuani on your face is never something you want to deal with.
Speaking of hidden blessings, we have King Curse trying to chase them down. Stolen Soul going in way too much, but that's going to be a very nice ultimate proc onto Pokebear. He's going to go down. This might be just what Ape needs. They're going to be able to follow up with a King Curse kill. Both kills going over to Stolen Soul. Well, at least he's going to become at least somewhat tankier in comparison to Acrendio now.
Yeah,
We're going to try and look to finish off with the tower.
Such a really solid play there, just baiting in the fight, you know, resetting, and then turning the fight around when you have the and the positioning advantage. Really solid play there, and it converts them into their first turret, which is just more gold into these late game carries.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They were able to get that opening. Meanwhile, Sad BMO coming through. He's going to pop the ultimate onto Azuz, and that's going to be a dead Callista. But meanwhile, that's a lot of damage coming out from Kled all of a sudden. Acrendio forced to back away, but that's going to be a teleport coming in from K19. Oh. And it's going to be a lot of damage coming through, but they're forced to more or less back away because the crowd control is just too much. And yeah. Acrendio is going to get caught out here.
Oh.
That's going to... Whoa. Acrendio able to get some form of compensation by taking down Follower, but
the tank is
real. Pokebear comes in, going to be able to finish off Herm, more or less, yes, with the flash forward, and he's going to be able to take down Stolen Soul as well, and that's more or less going to be a tower for the red side here as well. McMuddy trying to get onto Pokebear, but the movement speed is just not enough. King Curse taking a turret hit, but not going to go down.
Yeah, blue team here getting a little bit greedy after they won the first fight. They had the numbers advantage, they had the turret, and they ended up staying thinking they could turret it, but Arsendrio just being so tanky on this Sejuani, being able to stall out the fight for Pokebear to end up getting back after he ended up dying in the first turn of the fight, and ended up allowing them to completely turn that on its head.
Yeah, and about 19.5 minutes in, we are going to see Acrendio looking to take that Cloud Drake. 30 seconds until Baron Nashor is up. And I believe that Red side could very easily go for that quick Baron, especially with Acrendio being as tanky as they are.
Yeah, and if you're on the side of blue team here, you don't want to be taking these fights. You just want to be able to farm, you want to let your laners, you know, sit by themselves, isolated, have some space to breathe, get to those item power spikes, and then you can start, you know, turning things around. You can't try to look for fights when you don't have the obvious advantage. And as we saw in that bot lane fight, they had the advantage at the beginning, they got the first few fights, they need to take that and leave.
Yeah, and just after 20 minutes, Baron is up. The gold difference is a whopping 6k with only one tower difference, surprisingly. Double dragons going over to the red side with only an Ocean Drake for the blue side.
Yeah, but looking just at the gold difference across laners individually, between the mid lane and the ADCs, it's actually not that bad. Azuzu is actually slightly ahead of Pokebear in terms of gold, and that's where you want...
And that's just going to be Herm getting caught out with the Dark Passage, I believe, from Azuz, forcing it to come through, and Annie's going to be able to get it with the Luden's proc from Tibbers.
Luden's proc on Tibbers onto Azuz to play in the top lane.
Meanwhile, McMuddy is trying to get a kill onto Kane 1v9, gets demounted. Stolen Soul and the follower are there to back him up, but Akali is just too slippery and able to get away.
Yeah, let's just go back to how doesn't
bit of a
little bit of a forced play here. Tries to make something happen, but not really gonna be able to get anything out there, which is unfortunate. But they should be able to secure some vision control, which lets them reset and then maybe look for the Baron.
Yeah, no, they could. Red side could absolutely go for a Baron play here. All of blue side is back up again. But at the same time, can they really contest in a 5v5 scenario?
At the moment, I'm going to say no. I don't think that they can reliably take a 5v fight at the moment. I think that they have to try and force a numbers advantage, like you saw in the bot lane fight earlier. Or if they get some really solid CC lining up and chaining it into each other. Because Follower, is starting to come online. He's finished his first item of that Rod of Ages. He's stacking his tier up, and so he's starting to output some form of damage, as well as the 2-item Callista being able to be such a threat if he gets the proper peel in these team fights.
Yeah, and I think right now the biggest weakness for the blue side is lack of vision. However, they do have vision of this Baron, as Pokebear and Acrendio are trying to 2v1 it. Pokebear taking a lot of damage, Dark Binding coming out, and Pokebear's forced to run. Ignite is proc, he's going to have to run away. He can't turn around because Third is right behind him. Mac Muddy, Acrendio, there's a lot of spears inside of him. That's going to be able to rend and tear. Acrendio just barely gets out alive. The redemption actually finishes off. Kane 1v9 gets taken down. That's a lot of crack control coming out from Stolen Soul, and Azuz is able to carry this game for his team.
Yeah, and no one was able to touch Azuz in that fight, being able to just dance around everything, and now they ended up letting themselves get an advantage onto this Baron. And so what the red side there wanted to do was bait out a pick, wait for them to try and check the Baron, get the pick, and then go on the Baron. You can't just stop the Baron without any form of advantage.
Yep, absolutely. Protect the AD carry. It is meta. It works. Sad BMO looking to try and get something with the flash over, but he's not going to be able to secure the Baron because that's going straight to Azuz's pocket. And that is going to be a kill picked up the Stolen Soul onto Sad BMO. And that mid laner dead spells problems for the red side, because now it is a 4v5 with the Baron up. They're going to be able to push in this mid lane.
Yeah, and you see them trying to steal it there, but trying to steal an objective from a Callista's endless spears is always going to be a tricky task, and so...
Acrendio going in onto Herm. Black Shield is there, not going to be stunned up. Pokebear, though, going in and going to be able to finish them off. King Curse running forward, trying to root Azuz, and they are going to go down to the Akali. Kane going in. Sejuani ultimate able to land onto Mac Muddy, going to get demounted. Follower going in and shutting down Pokebear though. But that's a lot of damage coming out from Kane 1v9, doing so much. Stolen Soul trying to buffer them, keep them within tower range, keep them taking those hits. Unfortunately, not going to be able to continue to do so to the point of getting a kill. And that's going to be Baron back lost for blue side.
If you look at that as from just a pure numbers, it's a 3-for-3 fight, right? And you're like, okay, that's fair enough, you know, they're behind, that's pretty good. But they lost 3 Barons from a fight that they shouldn't have been trying to be in position to let them take. You know, you just, after you take the Baron, you want to reset, you disperse across the map, you farm up more, because that's your win condition on this team. You want to farm up with your Kai'Sa, with your Kassadin, and then you just want to outscale them.
Absolutely, and Mac Muddy getting engaged on here. Black Shield not going to be able to stop the initial stun, but will stop any additional CC from coming through. Unfortunately, the fight will not go on long enough for that to be a factor. About 25 minutes now. Red team's going to try to get that second Mountain Drake that has come up now.
Yeah, and there's no reason. There's no reason for them to try and contest this. You forfeit the Mountain Drake, you go top lane with your Kassadin and let him farm that wave. You know, you don't really want to be trying to contest these objectives right now, you just want to farm. Because the longer that they go for neutral objectives, and the more that they go for trying to group and force fights, the more time you get to farm inside lane. And so, really would like to start seeing maybe a bit more focus to that, but nonetheless, gonna see if they can try and let some of these team fights work in their favor using Azuz as their main carry.
And we are going to have Mac Muddy here with the full anti-mage build. More of our Mortius Mercury Treads, Null Magic Mantle, as well as the Negatron Cloak. All MR coming out from Mac Muddy right now.
Yeah, and we also see the Spirit Visage, like we mentioned earlier, on that Nunu, which is really, really solid to see here as an animation, but it looks like they're going to be
getting engaged on. No Black Shield to protect him this time, and he's going to go down.
There's no flash.
Down to the shield, eventually onto him, and that's going to be a very nice Stolen Soul ultimate coming out there. Azuz is able to get a kill, but he's going to get finished off by Sad BMO. Meanwhile, Herm trying to make a desperate escape, but Tibbers is going to hunt him down. Kane 1v9 fighting with Follower in the top side. Sorry, that is not Kane 1v9, that is Pokebear. Kane 1v9 is already dead. And Acrendio under the tower getting knocked up by Stolen Soul. A lot of damage coming out from the tower, but not going to be able to finish them off.
Yeah, you see this happen again and again. One of their members gets caught out, they decide to commit to the fight, and then they end up getting turned around because they don't have the gold yet to be able to hit these atom power spikes, so they're not able to compete against the early, strong, aggressive team comp from the side of Red Team here.
Yeah, absolutely. And although Azuz is getting stronger, as is Follower, as we can clearly see, Pokebear is also getting stronger from being that rather irrelevant Kai'Sa that just sort of gets caught out and dies at the start or in the middle of a team fight, is slowly starting to become more and more of a threat for the
It also doesn't matter how fed or how much gold you've invested into a Zeus if he just gets locked, CC'd, stunned, and burst down by an Annie on the side of a right? If you don't have vision around where you're fighting to let a Zeus position against all of these threats that can just one-shot him, then you're not going to win the fight.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And a bit of a vision clearing fiesta going on around that red side. That seems to be the focal point of most of the action as it currently stands. We do have the Mercurial Scimitar picked up for Azuz to avoid getting locked down heavily by those crowd control abilities.
Yeah, definitely good to see him pick that one up there. Just lets him be a little bit more safe when they try to flash Annie Tibbers him in these sort of fights. Lets him potentially survive with that lifesteal as well of the two lifesteal items. But you look across the board, that's a triple item Kai'Sa. And I don't know if anyone here plays or knows about Kai'Sa, but when Kai'Sa hits 3 items, things are going to start going south for the enemy team. And so, at the moment, you're waiting for Follower to hit his item power spikes. You're waiting for him to finish stacking that tier item. And until that happens, you're on the back foot, and you need to play like you're on the back foot.
Absolutely. And looking at the individual gold differences, by far the biggest notable one is between Acrendio and Stolen Soul. 5,000 gold difference between the two junglers. And it shows because Acrendio is just about full build at almost 29 minutes in.
Yeah, Acrendio being all over the map here, setting up so many good team fights for his team is definitely got to be commended. But Stolen Soul is on the Nunu pick. He is going to be relevant throughout most of the game, and so I don't think it's quite fair for us to say that maybe he's going to be counted out, but he's definitely behind.
Absolutely, and we are going to have Baron coming up in the next 30 seconds. Both teams really want to try and go for this, as it could very well likely close out the game, if not just score for inhibitors. Acrendio missing the ultimate onto Azuz. This is going to be the chase that the red team wants. They are starting to slowly back away. Azuz might be getting caught out by Kane 1v9 though. Black Shield is put down on top of him, but Azuz is still in a bad position. He needs to get behind his team, and they're going to be able to catch out King Curse. Follower able to follow up on top of him, and that's going to be a first kill coming on to them. Pokebear forced to ult away, not going to be able to get away. Follower able to secure that one as well, and that's going to be a Dark Passage knock-up onto Kane 1v9, and Acrendio is going to go down as well. Red team is just absolutely losing the plot. Sad BMO not there for the fight at all.
Sitting on a ward.
That is going to be a very easy pickup. Ultimate going down onto Stolen Soul of all people. And that's going to be a rend, but the kill's going to be taken by Follower. Well deserved for him. Cassidy becoming that late game hyper carry.
Yeah, and it was also not just Cassidy there, but they ended up trying to opt for a fight where they were already split, and they committed too many members to trying to, in the early game engage it. So in the beginning of the fight, to engage that fight, they ended up splitting in the jungle, and they got picked off one by one, and then they ended up getting collapsed on. And so you see why you need to try and get that early pick in these fights. Otherwise, that's going to happen, especially when you can't get onto a Zeus.
Oh, absolutely. The focal point for that fight has to be the chase given by Acrendio and Kane 1v9 onto Azuz, and they were able to just get funneled through that tri-brush by the blue side there.
Yeah, and the whole team was there to back up Azuz there on that fight, whereas Annie, Sad BMO, one of your main damage dealers, was completely on the other side of the jungle.
Yep, and about 31 minutes and 30 seconds in, double Ocean Drake for the blue side. They're going to be very nice for somebody like the Cassidon who wants those massive mana reserves to be able to stack the Riftwalk damage.
Yeah, really nice to see. Gonna have to also see him pick up the Lich Bane here, which is gonna be, really solid. But his burst damage now is insane from that, right? You saw it in that fight. You're gonna see it again when he gets onto Pokebear. It's just going to be kind of ridiculous how quickly they can die, especially given the limited defensive peel options coming from someone like a Karma. and a Sejuani.
Yeah, and it's just about reached the point where blue side is now more or less commanding the pace of the game, and there's no one really incredibly notable on that red side who can make a difference because there are just too many people to focus on the blue side now. You have Follower on the Cassin, you have Azuz on the Callista, you even have Stolen Soul outperforming right now on the Nunu.
You never underestimate a Nunu, my good sir. Nunu is a very scary champion once he gets into his groove. As you're seeing at the moment, especially now, you know that you're a full AP team, right? You know that you can't be, except for maybe obviously Kai'Sa, right? But you're mostly an AP team. You can't be committing to all these heavy AP items without any magic penetration. You can see that Kane's probably opting for a Void Staff now, but I'd like to see a Void Staff maybe picked up a little earlier, and also on Sad BMO, just to be able to get through this heavy AP MR that they've ended up picking up.
Yeah, Sad BMO definitely living up to his name by being sad with that stackless and Magi's. Opting into the investment, clearly not paying off, and definitely, as you said, needs to get some additional Magic Pen. Does have the Morellonomicon and the Sorcerer's Shoes, but it's just not enough, as you can see, especially on Mac Muddy, the anti-mage man himself. Just nothing's getting through that magic resist right now.
Yeah, he's currently sitting at 242 magic resist, which is frankly just ridiculous, I'm going to be honest here. Would like to see him maybe pick up a little bit of a HP item to compensate for that MR, but he's just not dying in these fights.
Absolutely, and even then, additionally, HP, although it does work inherently on Kled, it's not exactly entirely necessary, as you do have just the general scaling health of the double mount structure.
Yeah, exactly. It just works out really well for him here, building all those resistances. And we can see that on the other side of Follower here, he's really starting to hit the 3-item power spike. He's about to hit, he's probably building what it looks like to be a Zhonya's with the Hourglass, I presume, which will allow him to stall out fights even longer and let Azuz do his thing, which, as we've been seeing before, as we're going to continue seeing once he's on these, 4-item power spikes as we get to late game, can just be insane.
Yeah, and about 34 minutes and 40 seconds in, the gold lead is now tipping in favor of the blue side. Something that I personally did not think we would see. I thought red side was going to be able to just close this game out. But I have been mistaken more than once, and I will be mistaken more after this.
Yeah, and they've ended up shifting the gold lead to, their favor, but it was almost always in their favor, in the sense that so long as the game doesn't, fall to an unsavourable state, they're going to outscale with their comp. They're going to be able to play defensively like this and reach the current point that they're at now. And as long as red side runs out of steam, which they seem to be doing, this game is only going to get worse for red team now.
Absolutely, and of course we are now beyond the 30-minute mark, so all dragons spawning from here on out will be Elder Dragons, and that could more or less spell the defeat of any team. I'm honestly going to say that whichever team gets to the next Baron could very well end the game, as we are reaching the point where respawn timers are just that long.
Yeah, it could be one decisive team fight here to end the game, and it looks like neither team really wanting to commit to a fight just yet, wanting to force the vision out and position themselves appropriately, but definitely keen to see which team strikes first.
Yep, red side, I'm going to assume, is just more or less looking to try and get a pick onto at least one of the carries, whether it be Follower or Azuz. They need to take one of them out before they can commit to a full team fight.
Yeah, but getting onto them past Soul and Soul and Herm is going to be difficult.
Yeah, Sad BMO was on the flank, but was spotted out and is forced to move around the blue buff to regroup behind his team. Acrendio on that front line, full build with the Elixir of Iron. Definitely that wall acting as a barrier between the blue side and the red side right now.
Yeah, they're also, you look at the top lane and the side lanes here, is that those are going to end up crashing into the turret, which means that the longer this stall goes on, the more turret pressure and wave pressure they are getting on the blue side here.
Yeah, and right now we are having the classic dance of dragons. Both teams want this and they're not willing to give it up either way. Sad BMO fights his forward. A very nice ultimate ignite onto Azuz, forcing him out of the fight. Sad BMO broke the box on his Kane 1v9 going in, able to take down Herm. He's going to be able to take down Salt and Soul as well. But that's going to be Sad BMO going down, 1v9 able to take out Azuz as well. And that team fight is going in favor of red side, more or less. Kane 1v9 now on to follower. Acrendio still on full health because of that Warmogs. Very nicely done. Trying to hunt down follower, but I think they're just going to try and opt to go for the Elder Drake now.
Yeah, and we said they needed to find that pick, and did they find that pick? Sad BMO saw Azuz was slightly too far forward, flashed Tibber's stun, burns him out of the fight, ends up following it up and getting the kill later, but all that matters is he removed from the fight, had the numbers advantage from that point forward, and then with blue team being on the defensive, playing on the back foot, they were able to just clean things up.
Absolutely, Sad BMO, and we're going to have another fight here. Follower going in, able to clean up King Curse, and Kane 1v9 not going to be long suited for this life. Crendio, last one alive. Sad BMO, I believe, does have the Elder Dragon buff, but blue side is more than likely going to just try and vacate the area now.
Yeah, and now you want to just turn your attention to the other neutral objective. As we saw a couple pings coming out, they need to set up vision control, and that's what blue team has been on the, behind in a little bit for most of this game. Is you need to start committing to getting these pink wards down, getting these deep vision down around the surrounding objective, not just of the objective, so you know what the other team is doing.
Absolutely, and we're going to have blue side starting up the Baron now. They want to try and secure this as quickly as possible, and they might just be able to do that.
They have no idea.
To get on top of them. They have no idea. Absolutely, vision control, very nice for the blue side here. Crendio will spot it out, eventually gets rooted, might be able to come over the wall and look for a steal.
No way they steal it against the ballistic
He's
spear.
absolutely hovering, and that's going to be going in. Azuz is able to finish it off, forcing the flash out of Acrendio, and that is going to be no flashes on the side of the red team there. So Sad BMO not going to be able to go in for an engage like they did for that Elder Drake fight for a little bit now.
Yeah, and now we see the classic Baron versus Elder Dragon is superior, but if you're on the side of blue team, you are very happy having that extra lane pressure for these sorts of just stalling out the game even more, hitting these full build points, and then once this Elder Dragon wears out, you can look for this big game-ending team fight.
Absolutely, and I think the win condition here for the red side is that massive chain crowd control from Sad BMO and Acrendio coming out at the start of the team fight on top of someone like Azuz or Follower, creating a bit of a Song of Ice and Fire between Sejuani and Annie, and then hopefully Kane 1v9 can come in and clean them up.
Yeah, we have to not forget about Pokebear on this Kai'Sa. While we do give most of the scaling credit to the side of blue team here, Pokebear being on that Kai'Sa pick is still going to be relevant the longer this game goes on, as she is still a fantastic late game ADC. So getting her out of these fights in the early game is also going to be really important from the side of Follower and Azuz and even Stolen Soul if he can get onto her. But it's a war of vision at the moment, trying to choke things out, set yourselves up in a favorable position, see them trying to do a death brush here, just to catch one person.
The classic bushwhack strategy. Wait in the bush until your opponent shows you their face, and they just go all out. Unfortunately for the red side, though, there are no objectives in that area. There's not even Scuttle. Scuttle is popping up in the top side.
Not really any reason for blue team to even bother going in that direction, whereas now you find yourselves in a little bit of an awkward spot. It looks like they're just going to back off and reset in the mid lane.
Yeah, and 40 minutes has passed. Gold is relatively even. I mean, at this point, the gold lead, even at this distance, is kind of irrelevant right now. Everyone pretty much have their core items. Follower finishing off his build, as well as I believe Azuz has finished their build off as well.
Yeah, Azuz sitting on that really solid 350 farm at the moment, as well as all his kills and assists, lets him have that full build, being a whole item over Pokebear, which is going to be fantastic for him in these fights.
And that's going to be a nice Dark Binding coming out on top of a Crendio, but nothing's going to come of it. It's a bit of just a tug of war on the map right now. Neither team wanting to let the rope slip to the other side, more or less.
Yeah, look, it's all about, look, you don't want to make the first mistake, and you don't want to commit to a fight where you don't have all of the information or all of the pieces on the board. And so you see them clearing out wards, you land CC, but you don't commit because you don't know where the rest of the team is. And so both teams are pretty happy with just waiting for the other team to make a mistake.
Yeah, we are going to have McMuddy split pushing there in the bot side, forcing someone to come in and help them out. Herm making sure to stay on top of Follower and Azuz to be able to deploy that black shield as soon as it's needed.
Yeah, definitely just forcing down this turret through pure power of the Baron minions.
There's going to be the turret going down. A pause coming through as Kane 1v9 is about to go down. Unsure of what the pause is. I believe it was a disconnect on the side of Karma. We are going to get unpaused right now and straight into the fight as Kane 1v9 goes straight down. And there's going to be a lot of damage on top of Herm from the Karma, but the Dark Passage is going to be able to secure their safety. Meanwhile, McMoney able to provoke the anti-ultimate, and that is going to be a tower of the inhibitor forced by the blue side, and this may very well be the game right here and now.
Yeah, and they can definitely just follow that. They got the pick they wanted, they got the damage, they've hit the scaling, they waited out the game, and it lets them convert it into these sort of fights, and now they're onto the base.
Dad BMO, not even a chance going to go down, and that is most definitely going to be a game going over to Selwyn College. Able to pull this out very nicely on the blue side.
Yeah, really clean play, disciplined play is the main focus of their game here. They knew they needed to scale, they knew what they wanted to do, and they did it, and they didn't let themselves get caught up of the red side's pace, and it pays off beautifully.
Absolutely, and honestly, I have to say, props to everyone in this game, more or less. Everyone did well in their own right. Like,
I definitely think that was really solid play from all players. I think that, they knew what they wanted to do, they knew what their game plan was, their execution was maybe a little sloppy at times, and their farm, maybe they can improve it in a couple areas. I'm looking at you, 100 CS, 40-minute game, McMuddy, but
he built
he had really good engages. He built MR, he was a really good front line, and so you look across the teams, and I think that could have gone either way easily.
Absolutely, it could have gone either way. And as we saw, the team compositions did work both ways. Sad BMO and Akrendia are able to land that hard crowd control, allowing Kane 1v9 and Pokebear to dive onto the backline and deal some damage. But at the same time, the peel and the just coverage of Azuz and Follower was just so much that it was eventually just overwhelming for the red side.
I would have liked to see maybe a little more proactive plays coming out from the side of red team here, but everything ended up going pretty decently in the early game. They got what they wanted. They just couldn't break the base, and they couldn't get that lead. But I think that summarizes the game pretty well, and I think it was really fun to cast. Really enjoyed it. Really had a good time casting with you, my good sir, Jason.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. This one.
Sorry, what was that?
I had so much fun with this game.
Oh, this was so fun. It's such a good game. But I think we'll be passing off our casting over to, I believe it is, who was it? Yatos and somebody? Who else is casting the 5 o'clock game?
No idea, but that will happen in a little bit. I believe there's going to be a bit of an hour or so break, and then that will pop up. Anyway, that has been it from us. Thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed the game. Catch you soon.